Hello, everyone, and welcome to this latest edition of Cross Exam. Joining us today, we have Alix Henderson from the women's basketball team. She's an international development major with a minor in economics. And we have new doctor, Sam Kwapong, the director of multicultural and international student services. Congratulations, by the way, Sam.
Thank you.
So, Sam, I'll let you take it away.
Alright. Thank you so much. Alex, thank you for having this conversation with me. I'm
Of course.
excited. Um, like last time I did this, I think you and I have had so many conversations. So this would be like our one-on-ones or any time that we meet up and talk. So we're gonna ignore the cameras and just have a fun conversation. But I think I may know a little bit already. But can you share a little bit about who Alex is and where you're from and what brought you to Point Loma?
Yeah, so my name's Alix Henderson and I'm from Scotland. I came to Point Loma in fall of 2019. I transferred here from the University of Edinburgh, which is a university in Scotland. Um, I came here for basketball mainly, but also to pursue my undergrad. That's about it.
Oh, cool. Well, that's nice. Well, my first question to you is, you say you're from Scotland, so
hmm
walk me through your first initial reaction when you got to San Diego. I don't know if you've ever been to San Diego before, but kind of compare San Diego with Scotland and what are some of the differences, or some of the similarities, and what were your first thoughts of our little paradise here?
So my first time coming here was on a recruiting trip. I was going to visit different schools with one of my coaches from home, and we had an unofficial visit here, so it was really quick. I just met the coaches and the players, and um, yeah, it was really unplanned, so it was a lot different to other people's recruiting trips. But I just absolutely loved the campus, of course. It's so nice here, and that's probably one of the big differences from home is it's so sunny here. At home, it's like constantly raining, constantly windy, apart from about a month in summertime. So that's a huge difference. And then I'd say one of the big differences that I've noticed is not so much like the accent, but the different words that people use. Like I even now I'll say stuff and my roommates will be like, "What?" So I think that's like a massive difference, but it's not an issue, of course. It's just interesting to see.
It is really interesting. You think we all speak English, quote
Yeah.
unquote English, right? But there's so many different dialects of English,
Mhm.
and you don't know it until you encounter different culture that speaks a different dialect of English. Even in Scotland, which is part of the United Kingdom,
Mhm.
if you could take United Kingdom, there's so many different dialects and so many different parts of what makes up that community over there. So yeah, it must have been very very interesting and weird. I know for me when I first came to America and see people speak English, and I was like, that's not what you say things. And I know you and I have had many conversations where you say some words, and I'm like, oh, you bring me back home when I hear you use that word. I
Yeah.
was watching a TV show, and there's a band in America called ZZ Top, and someone called it Z Top. Top. I was like, yes, we don't say Z, we say Z, right?
Yeah.
And it was just one of those things. It just makes me it warms my heart when I talk to people who speak the dialect I grew up with, like yourself. So
Mhm.
thank you for that. It made me remember home. So now tell me your first memory when you first enrolled in Point Loma. What was that like?
My first memory when I enrolled in Point Loma. So, do you mean the enrollment process or like actually arriving here?
Actually arriving here.
So, actually arriving here, I got off the plane. One of my teammates now picked me up. I had never met her before. I'd seen her in passing when I was on my unofficial visits, but I'd never properly met her. She picked me up. I stayed over at her off-campus house, and then she brought me to campus in the morning to do NSO and all the getting your ID card, everything like that. And I was so jet lagged. Like I didn't know it at the time. I just thought like, oh, I'm awake. I'm just like wide awake at 3 a.m. I was like, no, I won't be jet lagged. But I was just um, like awake all night, which was really weird when I was like in someone else's house. But that's my first memory, and I was so tired getting my ID card. And now every time I see my ID card, I'm like, oh. So that's my first memory of arriving.
Oh man, that joint ID card photo. I don't think any student buys their ID card. I
Probably
don't care how
not.
photogenic you think it is at the time. You always look like, oh, I remember it. Wow. Well, I should actually ask you this earlier, but you being an international student, there's going to be people who are going to watch this and listen to this who might not necessarily understand the journey of an international student. So can you walk us through, briefly? I know it's a lot of processes, but briefly and as much as you can, the journey of an international student through the application process and the visa process and how you made it.
Yeah, so I think for people who don't know, like myself, about the visa process, it's very complicated, but it doesn't need to be. Like once you know, you know. So I had a lot of help from the coach, Jamie Smith, that traveled here with me for my recruiting trips. He knew a lot about the American school system in relation to basketball, so he helped me a lot with that. And then my mum's really on the case with stuff like that, so she really helped me with the whole visa process, applying. And then I had to go down to London for my visa appointment in order to get it. And yeah, I think it's something that can be very complicated if you don't know what you're doing. But with the help of people around me, it was made a lot more simple. So yeah, that was the visa process. And then coming here, I think it's really different for every student. So for me, I lived in Spain for a year when I was 15, and then I went back home for a year, and then I lived in Edinburgh for 2 years where I went to college there. And I think that year in Spain really helped me like with this process of coming to America. I think I'd already had the experience of like living away from home, so it wasn't as much of a shock to me. Um, I think I just like find it interesting, and although I miss home, like I don't really get homesick. It's more just like a, oh, like I love being at home. I some days I'm like, oh, I wish I could be at home tonight, but it's not like a homesickness feeling. So I'm really lucky to be in that position.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I can imagine also being in a sports team definitely help with that a little bit. Have a core group around you that at least can keep you from feeling totally alone
Hmm.
sometimes.
Yeah.
Speaking of athlete and sports, we do Scotland. And anyone that knows anything about sports knows that when you hear Scotland, when you hear United Kingdom, basketball is not what you think of, right? When you hear Scotland, you're thinking soccer or football, right? So how is it that a young woman from Scotland ended up playing basketball? And if I understand correctly, you played for the national team too.
Yeah, so I started playing basketball at my primary school, which is like elementary school here, I guess. And I wasn't very good, but um, I played, and then I ended up getting selected for the under 12 Scotland national team, which was really when I started taking it a lot more seriously and being like, okay, maybe this is actually something I want to do long term. And then we also have the GB national team, which I ended up playing for under 18 onwards. And I think, yeah, I think basketball is definitely not something that's seen as a massive sport in Britain, but it's definitely a sport that's growing, and there's a lot of people working hard to get it the exposure it deserves. I think the senior teams are definitely doing that right now. So, yeah, hopefully in the next few years we'll be known more for basketball.
And GB is Great Britain?
Yeah, Great Britain, sorry.
All right. All right. So walk me through how you came upon your major. How did you decide on this major, and what is your goal for your major after?
So I kind of stumbled upon this major accidentally. I was at the University of Edinburgh and I was really interested in business, and then I was taking some classes in economics, and um, I was just like fascinated by economics, how it works, and like the ways that it can be used. So I started majoring in economics, and then I was thinking about transferring here, but we don't have an economics major here at Point Loma anymore. So I was looking into different majors, seeing if like this is still something I wanted to do, despite economics being one of the majors available. So international development kind of encompassed the things that I wanted to do with economics. So it's just like developing countries internationally, which is kind of what I wanted to do with economics. So that's how I ended up doing international development, and then I hope to do a master's in economics.
That's really amazing. And again, you and I, we've had a lot of conversations about your future and what you want to do once you're done here, and I can't wait to see what the future holds for you. I think it's really, really amazing. So I'm going to ask you, one of my last questions. Might be a hard one, but looking back, right? Looking back to your life, your life here on this campus as short as it can. What has been one of your greatest joys? Like one of the things that you admire, you like the most, and what has been one of your biggest challenges?
I think one of the greatest joys has been like my teammates. I think we're just super close as a team, which is really lucky. I mean, you can go to a school that you love and you can have a team that you don't love so much. So I'm just grateful to be surrounded by like a great group of people and teammates. So I think that's one of the biggest joys. And then one of the biggest challenges I'd say is just juggling everything. Like, there's a lot to figure out, whether it's basketball wise, visa wise, academically wise, and I think just trying to navigate that in a way that makes the most sense to me. So, like where I want to focus my energy really. I'm quite a perfectionist, so sometimes I struggle to just be like, okay, like maybe I need to say no to that. I don't have time for that, and just focus my energy where I see best fit. So I think that's one of the biggest challenges.
That's awesome. And I'm going to give you some time to ask me some questions, but I also want to kind of throw it out there. You're going to be the vice president for the international club.
Well, maybe.
I'm really excited about that.
Yeah.
Well, I've always admired you, and I think it'd be really cool. Um,
Thanks.
well, do you have any questions for me?
um, yes, I do indeed.
I'm happy with questions. All right.
I know we spoke briefly about like being an international student. So one of my questions to you would be, how did you find the cultural differences when you first arrived in the US, or even now?
Well, so I came when I was 17, so I was a bit
Mm-hmm.
younger than you when I first came to the United States. And unfortunately, I didn't have an international office to really walk me through some of the challenges I'm going to be facing. Yeah, it was. I didn't know what culture shock was, but I went through it. I think one of the biggest challenges for me was the way people dress. So I in Ghana, our school uniforms are every school have a different uniform,
Mm-hmm.
and you dress up. So there's like trousers, which most people don't say trousers, they think pants, but
Yeah.
there are trousers, and your shirt is tucked in. Your shirt has to be ironed all the time. Monday is health inspection, so they check. Your shirt you have the crease on it, like you need to be immaculate. So when I first came to America, I was dressed like that, and as you can tell, that did not really go down very well. So I had a hard time fitting in because I looked different, I spoke different, and I was
Mm-hmm.
very quiet and very shy. So I didn't really fit in the social construct of the school. So that was a bit hard for me. And then when I moved into college, that was in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And when I moved into college, I didn't have any family member that moved in alone. I didn't have anyone to help me move in. I didn't have any sports team to help me, and it was kind of hard. So yeah, my whole experience is a bit harsh,
Mm-hmm.
but I feel like it is what set me on course to be where I am today because it made me think that I do not ever want any international students to
Mm-hmm.
that fail my freshman year.
Mm-hmm.
Later on down the road, I made friends and I found the international students that helped me. But that first 2 months of college, not fun. So yeah, it was that was my kind of my journey.
Mm-hmm. Kind of going off of that, what advice would you give to international students who are kind of in the same boat where they're like maybe struggling to assimilate to American culture or even just struggle to be away from home? I don't know. You've had a lot of experience with that. I know we talk about it a lot at Unite, but what advice would you give to some international students going through that?
So one of my first advice would be don't try to assimilate.
Yeah.
Don't try
I'm with you on that.
don't try and be and nothing against American culture.
Mm-hmm.
Every culture has its own, right? So that's the thing with American culture, wherever culture we're from. But my big advice is don't try and be American. Don't try and assimilate. Don't try and try and fit in and do things American way. But one of the things that I have learned throughout the years is whatever your routine was from back home, try and keep the same routine. If you went to church on Sundays, try and go to church. If you went to the mosque or you went to the temple, or you're Muslim or whatever, try and keep that same routine going for you because it will keep you in that familiar uh, cycle. The other thing also is, and this may be a little shameful plug for my office, but make the international office like a priority. Come talk to people.
Mm-hmm.
We have the Center for Intercultural, Center for Intercultural Excellence, and I think or development, and I think that's a great place for students to hang out and talk to each other and have community with each other. So if you're looking for community, that's a place to have. We also have great faculty here
Mm-hmm.
who are willing to step in and help. One of the things I love about Quantum, and I've heard a colleague use this phrase, here at Quantum, we have what we call value added education. You're not just here to get an education, you're here to get way more than that. So
Mm-hmm.
we try to go above and beyond for our students. So take advantage of the faculty, take advantage of office hours, take advantage of the Mosaic office, take advantage of all these different resources we have for you. Now, will all that make it easy? No. It will make it easier,
Mm-hmm.
right? It will make it better, but it wouldn't take away the culture shock. It wouldn't take away feeling of I just don't want to be here anymore. Um, but it would make it a lot better because you'll be around other people who think the same. So that would be my advice. And also please don't stop calling home. Call home. Call
My
mom
family
and
love to hear would love to hear that one.
yeah. Call mom and dad because I think a lot of times we want to, like you said, assimilate so much, we want to fit in so much that we decide that, oh, for me to fit in, I need to do X, Y, and Z, and I need to dive into this American culture. And I feel like if I go home all the time, it will make me more homesick. And that may be true, but keeping contact with home helps. I remember I used to call home a lot and my mom will be like, "Oh, guess what I made? I made your favorite food." And at
That's the
that
worst one for
moment, I
me.
was like, "Oh, mom, you killed me." But it was good to hear her voice. It was good to hear my dad's voice,
Mhm.
and it was and again that routine thing. I knew every Monday at 9 p.m. I called home and I talked to my dad, and so whenever things were going wrong, I
Mhm.
always have that.
Yeah. That makes sense. I call my family like every Sunday.
Yeah,
Um, whether it's a lot of people from my family or whether it's just like one family member, depends how busy I am, how busy they are. But yeah, I make sure every weekend at least I call someone from home. So I think that does really help. And then what you said about using the resources at Point Loma, I think we have so many resources. And I think when I first arrived, I didn't quite appreciate that because I didn't know, like, what you don't know, you don't know. And then, like, gradually over time, I've realized how great the resources are. For example, you, I've asked you hundreds of questions in the last like 3 months with getting a social security number, with getting an on campus job, with getting the ability to drive here. I think by asking you, you know all the information or you have the means to find it. So I think that's essential for international students or students from other mosaic clubs to reach out to you. Sorry, I'm trying to increase your workload.
but that's the thing. Yeah, I always think of it this way, right? It's called job security in many ways, right? If I have a lot of workload, I'm on job security. But no, really, I love working with all my students,
Mhm.
especially the ones that really need help, right?
Mhm.
That's what I'm here for, right? At the end of the day, if I'm leaving work and I'm still full of energy, I haven't really done my job. And I always tell my students, I want to leave here knowing that I have poured everything out of me to my students. And I think that's what we are called to do as staff and faculty and administration. Right? We're supposed to pour into you. And if we're not doing that, then quite honestly, we're not doing our job. Right? And I want to do my job. I want to be good at my job. So I want to pour into you. So, no, please feel free and reach out. And
Yeah. I have one final question. Danny touched on it briefly at the start, but you got your doctorate yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. What are kind of the next steps for you with Point Loma, with Mosaic, with Unite and the various clubs that you oversee? Is there anything next on the cards? I know you just got finished with a massive project, so are you
yeah,
going to take some time to just relax, or what's your plans?
oh, definitely. So I am what you call a lifelong learner.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when my manuscript got was accepted and I was planning my defense, and my wife looked at me and said, "You're not done, are you?" And she knows me because she knows that I probably will go for another degree at some point. But right now, I just want to rest.
You earned
My
it.
my journey has been 7 years, and it's been a lot of ups and downs. All the committee members, have left. The faculty left. Like, it was a mess. So my first step is to just enjoy this accomplishment and
Mm-hmm.
and celebrate with my students. One of the things I cannot say now, my students are really inspiration. On Friday when I did my defense, they poured in with text messages, and you were there. You came over. It was amazing. So it's just one of those things that I want to continue on. Right. As far as future stuff goes, I like to live in the moment. Right. So right now I'm here. I'm 100% dedicated here, and this is where I feel God needs me to be. So don't worry, you're not losing me.
Gotta make sure.
I know you're like, where's Sam going? I am here. Um, but yeah, definitely we'll see what God has in store for us.
I'm excited to see what ends up happening with all of Mosaic and all of the clubs that are within that, especially.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I know next year is going to be fun because um, I really do believe that you will be on board.
I'm glad you have faith in me.
I do have faith in you. I really do have faith in you, and I think your other cohort have faith in you, and that's why they probably, I think they will for you. So, but yeah, thank you for talking to me, and
Of course, thank you for taking the time to ask me all those questions and
I
answering them.
know. I know you were kind of worried last. It was over the weekend. You were texting me like, "What kind of hard questions you ask?"
You worried me by saying you were going to be asking difficult
Hard
questions.
hitting questions, right? I'm trying to be a journalist here. Okay, that's my next goal in life. I gotta have the hard hitting questions. I didn't get to see the words. But no, thank you so much. I really appreciate you so much. You are amazing. And yeah, thanks, Alex.
Of course, thank you for having me.
Bye.